Good evening, councillors, officers, members of the public, and welcome to this evening's meeting of Children, Young Persons and Education Scrutiny Committee. Can we do something about the feed? There's a bit of feedback. Thank you very much. Please be aware this meeting has been recorded, and welcome to those now viewing YouTube. And if members can be just wary that this is going out live. Can I request that mobile phones are either set to silent or switched off for the duration of this meeting, please? Please can I also take this time to remind members, because we've all had Christmas, regarding the procedure for tonight's agenda. Should members of the Scrutiny Committee wish to amend, remove or add additional recommendations or requests as part of the Scrutiny Committee remit, then please could you ask members, or can members please state the purpose of their recommendation at the appropriate time during the debate, and a seconder then to confirm the recommendation. Members will then vote on the additional amendment recommendation as necessary. Members, I kindly ask all members be mindful of this when preparing questions and comments to ensure that each item receives appropriate attention and scrutiny within the available time. Should this meeting run past the considered meeting guillotine, members will be asked to extend the meeting in order to finish business on the agenda. So item 1, please. Callum, apologies.
No apologies for tonight, Councillor.
Thank you very much. Declarations of interest. Councillor Lumsden, Julie.
I'm not sure it's relevant, but let's say just in case, I'm a governor on the board at Kettering General Hospital.
Thank you. And my normal one, I am a foster carer, so I have to obviously, and my wife is, so I have to put my hands up. Anyone else? No? Good. Number 3, minutes for the meeting held on the 25th of November 2025. Can I ask if all members are happy for the minutes to be signed from our last minute are a true and accurate reading? I know obviously only those that are present can approve the minutes. Can I please ask for a proposer and a seconder to accept the minutes, only if they're obviously accurate. Councillor Conway, Trevor, and Councillor Brackenbury. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 4. Can I please invite Cornelia Andrecut, Executive Director of Children's Services, to introduce the report, please, and that's for Corporate Parenting Strategy. Thank you. Oh, sorry. 2 secs. Can we have a show of hands that the agenda was all read and everything else?
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. I was off at Christmas as well, you see. So, apologies, Cornelia, if you...
Thank you, Chair. Good evening. I bring to you this evening the Corporate Parenting Strategy for Northamptonshire. This strategy sets the direction for how Northamptonshire will fulfill its corporate role as corporate parent, or as young people prefer, their extra parents. It is built on a simple principle. Every child in care deserves the same love, stability, opportunities and ambition we would want for our own children. This strategy is shaped by direct engagement with children in care and care experienced young people whose voices run throughout, and is built around 4 priorities that young people told us matter most: belonging and resilience, health and well-being, fulfilling potential and feeling safe and secure, each with clear actions that should be completed over the next 3 years. By 2028, we aim to see, by delivering this strategy, that children and young people report stronger relationships and a sense of belonging, improved health assessments and reduced waiting times, more care experienced young people in stable education, employment and training, increased placement stability and fewer out-of-area moves, a visible shift in culture where being extra parents is recognized across the council and the wider partners. We will intend to have a delivery plan with clear actions and regular reporting to corporate parenting boards, Scrutiny and other partnerships such as Safeguarding Children's Partnership and Health and Wellbeing Board. It's also important, that we will be accountable to our children and young people. We do have young people on the corporate parenting board, and we also have implemented a listening framework where they actually hold us to account in terms of progress in relation to actions and decisions. We ask the committee tonight to review and comment on the corporate parenting strategy. The intention is to present this strategy to exec and then have it formally approved by full council, demonstrating whole council commitment. So happy to take any questions in relation to content, direction, or any aspects of the strategy.
Councillor Brackenbury.
Thank you, Cornelia. I really do like the name extra parents rather than corporate parents, because that's really exactly what we are. So I really think that's a good use of words, and I welcome that. I did have a question about the strategy talks about community partners, about the police, inviting police to corporate parenting board, but I've just had a word with Cornelia and she assures me the police will be attending and have been invited and will be attending, so that's good, particularly when you look at some of the data at the following report. I think it will be very helpful.
Absolutely, and I assure that they are committed. So I have spoken with the police representative. They've had changes in their leaders, and I've been confirmed that we will have a representative in attendance going forward.
You mentioned earlier cultural shift, and that covers, it could cover everything. I wonder if you could give me your view of where perhaps we are now, where you'd like it to go, and what kind of considerations do you have?
Yeah, absolutely. I think at the moment there is a commitment, so there is a visible commitment where people are genuinely interested and want to act as extra parents. I think there is need for understanding what that means, and understanding what that means for young people and working with that. That's why I mentioned the delivery plan, having that clear trajectory and people understanding how they could contribute to that. So there is a lot of work to be done, I believe, but there is genuine interest and willingness to act as corporate parents, for our children and make a positive change, for them. So I think we are really at the beginning where we acknowledge the need to change, and we do see, some actions, but it's not done in a consistent or systematic way at the moment. We have young people and Olivia as well, from the Children's Trust, who work more closely with young people, and I invite them because it may be helpful for them to comment on this as well, but that's my view as to how I see things at the moment. Is there anything you wish to add, Olivia? Would you agree or disagree?
No, I would agree with you.
Yeah, I would agree with what you've been saying and what we're trying to achieve.
Because I find it's a great intent. Where I struggle with cultural changes, and you did mention that you have an awareness and a desire to change, and it's just very, very difficult to pin down. I can pin down when we've spent money, when we've put more resources in, when we've developed training programs, but the cultural change, a lot of that is really subtle, and it's very difficult to measure or to pin down. So how do we know when we're making progress
So for me, it's about displaying those behaviors, and you would see, obviously, in terms of priorities and having those specific priorities around what we aim to achieve for our young people, and making sure that we make them feel, that they belong. We help them to feel happy. We talk about them, and we consider them in every decision that we make, in policy, So it's demonstrating those behaviors day by day, that would help us to see the difference, and making sure, that we keep that at the forefront of our actions and activities. And it's not about just the officers, it's about everybody. That's the hardest bit, So it's obviously members, but it's also partner agencies, communities, where everybody understands that these are our children, and they need care, and they need support, and they need to feel that they belong. So, and you're absolutely right. It's subtle, and it will happen, I would hope, gradually, where, we ask them, how they feel, and what we could do differently, and does it feel different, for them? And if it doesn't, then we think, well, what else we could do, So it's about doing that very much in collaboration, and hence why we have them part of the conversation, and we want to hear from them as to how that feels for them.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else at all? Vicky?
Where it's setting out, ambitions and, how we're going to look at successes. But will you be putting a action plan alongside this, which will have measures and outcomes, so we can measure, actually, is the plan working? Has it made a difference? Has it taken account of what Councillor Geary has said around culture? Will that be coming forward, and have you got a timeline for that?
Yeah, so absolutely. Yes to all that. So we have an initial draft, but we want to finalize with involvement of children and young people, and obviously Corporate Parenting Board is the vehicle to basically finalize the draft that has been put together. So for every priority there is clear actions, and you'll see obviously in the strategy that there is clear actions. What we've also done, we've linked that to performance measures. So you have in the strategy, performance in terms of where we are now, what is it that we do well, and what is it that we need to improve, for example. And we do have accommodation, for example, and employment, education and training on the agenda today. So all those performance measures are linked to those priorities, because we do want to see improvement. And it's also thinking about, as I said, feedback, or what is it that we want to see to absolutely be confident in our success. And we will finalize that delivery plan, identifying clear responsible people, for all those actions, and have a clear trajectory, to ensure that we accomplish what we are set to achieve, going forward. And we absolutely want to come back here, because we want you to scrutinize how we are progressing with. So absolutely rely on the young people, but we also hope, to have scrutiny, looking at how that progress is being made.
Paul?
Yeah, just quickly. You say obviously you do these, that you get children involved and they come and tell you about how things are going, what they want. How do you achieve the biggest demographic of all children? What do you do to bring those in?
So we do have obviously some specific forums in terms of engagement, that are already established. We do also have Mind of My Own that actually is available to every young person. We have acknowledged that we need to have some actions, and bring that, because it's not as well used as we would like, if it's fair to say. But so definitely there is platform and there is opportunities to capture voices. It's just, making sure that we keep that again, and keep focus on that, and look at how we enable that voice, to be present. It's grateful. We are very grateful, and I'm really grateful about some of the young people that obviously, take their time and are present, some present here tonight, but also at the corporate parenting board, and also participating in those forums, that I have mentioned. It's encouraging more, to have a say, and looking at the way that would be accessible, and would enable them to have a voice. And we do have already a platform, as I said, but it's thinking what else, we could do to enable that. Yeah, absolutely.
So if I can just add to what Cornelia is saying, is that the listening framework that Cornelia referenced earlier has kind of shifted as well, the expectation that our children come to us to tell us, and is much more about our members and officers going out to our children and young people. So, for example, our chair tonight has been out to visit some of our young people in their homes, rather than they need to come into panel and talk to us. So there's always a group of young people keen to come in and tell people how they're feeling, but they tend to be our more confident young people, with something clearly that they want to say, rather, we know we've got a whole cohort of young people that perhaps don't want to come into a building like this or come into a meeting set out in this way. And the listening framework is shifting that balance so that we go to them instead of expecting them to come to us, and then feed that back into panels.
Thank you, and great questions. And on that note, Chair, and if I may, we now have our incredible people here with us, and I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce Vera, Millie and Connor, who have kindly agreed to come and join the committee this evening. It's a bit daunting, isn't it? So I think this is the first time we've done this, and really welcome the invite from the chair. So just want to say that really it's a bit of this evening's a bit of a learning for all of us. So it's okay, just say what you want to say, and as you'd expect, and I thought, Chair, it may be an opportunity to any reflections that we've got a few things to talk through this evening, but I don't know if. Would that be okay, Chair, if there's any reflections from my colleagues?
I don't have any problems. We are discussing young people's futures, and I'm not that young. So it's more about their futures and the way we move forward. So really, they are the centre of everything that we are trying to deal with. So I have no problems with that at all. Is that all right, Callum? Thanks, mate.
Yeah. So we've talked about the corporate parenting strategy. Cornelia's gone through very helpfully the corporate parenting strategy for Northampton, and everyone here is in an apprenticeship with us.
Employed.
And employed. Sorry, apprenticeship and employed. So we're all colleagues working together on a professional level. But we're really grateful that you've agreed to come and share your reflections and thoughts about your time and anything you would like to share with the committee. So don't feel you have to now, no pressure. But equally, members in the room may want to sort of ask of you. In which case, if you feel okay to answer, please do so. If you don't, that's okay. If you just look at me like that, and I'll answer. Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Any other points from anyone else at all? Oh, Wendy. Thank you.
As a council, we often talk about apprentices, across the council, and so it's really good to see that you're here this evening, and presume one of you's employed as well. So you employed. That's brilliant. I just wondered how you found the process. If any of you would like to give your sort of experience of becoming an apprentice. It doesn't matter if you don't, but it'd be interesting, I think, for us to hear any of your experiences of becoming an apprentice.
So Connor and I were chatting on the way here because Connor did have an apprenticeship in the Leave and Care Service and is now employed in a business support role. Millie is mid-apprenticeship. Vera was never in an apprenticeship where he came in as one of our transitions workers. And Connor was sharing his experience of gaining that apprenticeship, which you said came through Connects, that's right, rather than directly through the Leaving Care Service. But what we talked about is the collaboration between those different agencies which allowed those opportunities to be shared and for you to know that there was something coming up and then be supported in your application. Is that a fair reflection of what you were saying? But what you were thinking was that there may be more opportunity for those opportunities to be shared wider with our young people so that everybody knows about them.
Thank you.
Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think if we have drop-ins at our bases, both in Russell House and the Junction, our Kettering hub, then businesses could join us and meet with young people to potentially offer training and apprenticeships and open doors to brighter futures for our young people.
Thank you. That sounds a really good idea. Is that something that's been considered at all?
We have forums where people come in, and we have local offer events where businesses kind of like job fairs within the community. What that requires, again, is our young people to go to those or to be supported to attend them. I think what Connor is suggesting is employers come to us and those opportunities can develop from there. So that's definitely something we can think about and take forward.
Thank you. It sounds a really good idea because you've got a pool of young people that can be helpful to employers and they don't have to go too far. Thank you.
Thanks. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in the next agenda item as well, the Care Experience Pledge. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Trevor?
Hello, sorry, thank you. Just a couple of questions going back to the report that's been submitted as part of tonight's meeting. The Care Experience Pledge. Can you give us a bit more detail about that? Because on the pack I'm getting, unless I'm missing something, you've got a page that says Care Experience Pledge, and then it says what is the pledge, but it doesn't then actually give us anything. So what is the pledge?
Sure. It's the next agenda item, and there's a presentation. It was only ever intended to be a presentation about it. So there's a number of questions. Then we can have a discussion about it. Then, yeah. Okay. But that's a valid point to raise. Yeah. But just so, yeah, it's not been missed. It'll be a sort of live presentation. It's very new.
I was going to go first then. God, thanks. I only have the one for yourself, Cornelia. We are and I keep harping on about it, we are in this strange position where we are one county with two councils. And when it comes to children and young people, especially around care leavers and everything else, I feel that have we tied in with the West? And the reason I say that is because we both use NCT. And my biggest fear is that a young person that may be across in the West is not being treated exactly the same as somebody that's being treated in the North, vice versa. So in that way, is there something that we could look at? Are we going to be looking at maybe in the future having a cross-county partnership when it comes down to our young people? Because what I wouldn't want is a young person that lives with me in Wellingborough but is unable to get housing or accommodation in Northampton and vice versa. It's just so that, we are both corporate parents for the whole of Northamptonshire, and I'm hoping that it's not being divided or split with everything, and that includes housing and accommodation further down. Thank you.
So what I could say is that it's something that we are definitely aware of, and it's something that we work on. We are not quite where we would want, I would say, but it's definitely something that it's work in progress. Each council obviously could put things forward, as they wish in terms of the offer, and it's really important to understand the implications for young people when that happens. So what I can provide assurance, it's something we are acutely aware of, and obviously there will be next or the one after next, item where we will have a conversation about that in terms of the offer. And it's, not quite where we want it to be at the moment, but we work on it.
Vicky?
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, it was just to go back on the action plan and the delivery plan that you'll prepare. I wondered if there's a possibility of changing the recommendation slightly to include that, because it does talk about progress against the strategy, including updates from the corporate parenting board. But if we could have the words in there that say against a strategy and action plan or delivery plan, so we just don't miss that opportunity to monitor and scrutinise actual outcomes.
Valid point, and happy to.
Is that okay, Chairman?
And for Councillor Jessop's suggestion, do we have a seconder for that? Oh, yeah. Thank you, Dave. That's it. And all those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. I'd like to obviously thank members and officers for their contribution during this debate. And let's move forward with the next part of the agenda. Moving on is agenda item 5, care experience and pledge. And can I please invite Colin Foster, who's the Chief Executive of Northamptonshire Children's Trust, to introduce the presentation, please.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for really good discussion just now. It's really encouraging that Northamptonshire have chosen to, make care experience a subject topic for the whole scrutiny meeting. It truly is welcome, the chance to just share and take questions. And please, there are no daft questions, and I think it's really good discussion about the strategy for Northamptonshire. So, given some just distilling some of the comments from earlier on, so where are we culturally, how do we know we'll have an impact, and all, there's so many levels, as Cornelia said, that we need to touch on. And I think whilst there may be still some differentials in support between West Northamptonshire and North Northamptonshire councils, I have to say there is a strong commitment in both to get this as right as it can be. It's up to us to work together to align things, but I have to say a few years ago I never even dreamt this was possible, so it's really encouraging to see how things have evolved. And one of those evolutions is how we, across Northamptonshire, recognise care experience as a part of our society that's so important, that we respect, understand and welcome the learning from those with care experience. And when the question earlier on around how do we know and what can we do, the question is, what can you do that's a really good thing to help someone? And that's where the care experience pledge came from. Because you can't expect, I mean, Nike have just moved to, or are moving to North Northamptonshire, right? There's also some really good local businesses, and there's one business nearby, a carpentry business, that's only 2 employees, You can't expect Nike and your local carpentry business to be able to achieve the same level of support when supporting those with care experience, obviously. But actually, both can bring something from their own context. So that's the idea of the pledge. It's not saying you have to do A, B and C. It's saying, what can you do to help? And now that could be, we have some really good furniture provider here in Northamptonshire who supports when young people with care experience move into new housing, they will support with furniture. We have an organisation that supports with kitchenware. That's the type of thing. Now, though this real the thing I love about Northamptonshire is the heart of the people, and I think there's lots of people that have done this. The pledge is about acknowledging that and recognising when people do, and encouraging others to do stuff too, because some people do. But if you don't know what you can do, then what are you going to do? You know, so that's the idea of making this a bit more public. So we had a launch back in this back end of November when it was launched by the Lord Lieutenant of Northamptonshire, and there were a number of businesses in attendance there, and a lot of and this is an evolving idea as to how we can award a pledge to local organisations that we can see are absolutely committed to supporting those with care experience. Is that a fair summary, guys? Yeah, fab. So that's where it started. So the presentation on here is just kind of an idea and a flavour of what it is. And as Cornelia said about coming back here to Scrutiny, I think, I mean, it's up to members to decide the agenda for future meetings, but this would be a really good thing to come back to. So in a year's time, say, okay, well, you said this now, where are you at now? You know, because we don't want any of this to just drip, and it won't, believe me, it won't. But you know, and this slide has a number of meanings for me. First of all, it's how do we ask all local organisations to pledge their support. But that's all local people as well, everybody here. So this is quite a moving personal example. So that's our football team, Care Experience football team. So for 13 years I've been a volunteer coach football in my community. And someone approached and said, we think we might be able to get some sponsorship for some kit. And I'm like, well, we've got a kit, but I know a team that would really value a kit. And so that kit that they're wearing came through that route. Now, that didn't happen because of any formal agreement. That happened because it's an opportunity and it's the right thing to do. So going back to the points about how have we known what could we do, if there's something that you think might help, then give us a shout. You know, it doesn't have to be overly formalised, and that'd be my sort of message for everybody. You know, and who knows what those ideas could be? But if you think about that as a parent, any opportunities where you can help, you know, your children to be amazing, that's our job. so there you go. That's that, and that's our what we aim to do with the pledge. And what we'd like to do is to be able to award organisations that have committed a pledge that. We think is something that will really make a difference, then we award the pledge. Okay, so that's how it'll evolve over the next few months. So what is the pledge? It will be a certificate that says well done, but that, like I say, it's not you have to tick box A, B and C. There'll be hopefully a number of our colleagues here in the room that would kind of judge and say, yeah, I think that's the best they can do. And then when I go back to a local carpentry business and a large multinational organisation, of course the expectations of the large multinational organisation should and would be higher than a local business, but expectations on both, if you see what I mean. So if a new organisation came, say a multinational organisation that was opening a massive setup here in Northamptonshire, you know, wouldn't it be amazing if they made a statement and said, we're going to create 50 apprenticeships for those with care experience? You know, that's the type of thing we'd want to. But if you're a local organisation that's only got 2 employees, you know, if you could do one apprenticeship, that'd be amazing. Or actually, if you're a carpentry business, you know, what could you do to help young people move into a new home? You know, nothing's off the table, I think, is the message. So that's the idea of the pledge. And that picture there is from our awards for children our Children in Care Awards, and so the care and that's important because the Care Experience Pledge is not just about young people who are leaving care. It's young people who are in care right now and children that are in care right now. So work experience opportunities. You know, how can you help our foster carers? You know, imagine what local businesses could do to help foster carers. So much. You know, and that's all part of the pledge. It's kind of it can be as far and wide ranging as anyone would like it to be. And I'm really excited because what I've learned about Northamptonshire is if you create an opportunity for people, you know, build it and they will come. If you create something, people will buy into it. And I'm really excited about how this is going to develop. And it's about creating success through support. That's the idea, in a nutshell. Now, there's lots of examples of supporting care experienced young people. So if you look at that photo on the right, that was Northampton Town Football Club who arranged for a group of our young people to go. There's a bit of a football theme, sorry about this, there's lots more other great stuff that we do. But there was a match between Northampton Town Academy and our Care Leaves football team, which was incredible. But then on the left-hand side, that photo is the local festival, Shambhala. What can Shambhala Festival do to support those with care experience? I know, provide some tickets. Yeah, and that's what they did. And you see, so it doesn't have to be fixed, it can be anything, but is it something that comes from the heart that you can do that will make a real difference? So there's a local organisation that many people know called GXO. Yeah. So what was absolutely incredible about the launch of the Care Experience Pledge, I think if I remember the dates rightly, it was the 28th of November. And we had some of our incredible young people that were hosting the tables. There was about, how many was there? About 15 tables, something like that. And there was people, different local organisations at the tables, facilitated by young people. And on one table, there was a young person there with care experience that was facilitating the discussion. GXO, the company, were on this table as well, and they're sort of signing up to the pledge. And the GXO and young person got talking, the representative from GXO, and there was a job role coming up with GXO. The person from GXO mentioned it to the young person. They went through due process, but 2 weeks later there was the interview, and that young person got the job. How good is that? And that's the point. That's the point. Did they have to do that? Was there anything that said they had to do that? Not at all. Was it the morally, sensibly right thing to do from the heart? Absolutely. And ethically as well, because they did follow due process. This wasn't, this was due process, and but the young person didn't know about the opportunity, and that was the point. It's that connection. So at this point, we just thought it might be helpful to have a bit of a discussion. There's a few questions, about that we could sort of think through. But I don't know. Did any other colleagues have anything you wanted to add to that? Is that? Yeah, go for it. Go for it, Molly.
Just that I think it's important to recognise that the pledge is. It sounds really cheesy, but like a ripple effect. It's one good choice that a business has made or a part of our community, and that good choice ripples through the whole service, and like you said, it goes down to children in care as well, and even though the pledge is for care leavers, I guess, but it's important to recognise how much of an effect it has when it trickles down, but yeah.
That's really powerful, Millie. Thank you. And just when you think back, is there anything now you're seeing that, I wish that could have happened when I was a kid? Yeah, go on, Vera. We haven't rehearsed this, by the way. I'm just
I mean, so much. I was placed in care when it was still Northamptonshire County Council, which did the best they could at the time, I'm sure. And it was also pre-Baby P, before a lot of the new laws came into place about going into care and leaving care. But specifically, when I left care, I went into an independent supported accommodation at the age of 17, and then I turned 18 and I moved out into my own place. And it sucked at the time. I mean, the setting up home allowance was much lower than it is now. I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford to set up my home. My furniture, most of it came from Facebook for free and was not the best quality because I had to prioritise carpets and white goods. Whereas now we have a guy who does carpets for our care leavers, which is fantastic because that's such a massive chunk of their setting up home allowance that they now get to spend on nicer things like a TV maybe, or just matching furniture rather than odds and ends. And we have someone that will do white goods, which again is another massive chunk of the setting up home allowance that now they don't have to worry about so much, and it lets them actually have like a home that they wanted, whereas, you know, I moved into this flat and I mean it looked awful. It was the best I could do at the time, but it didn't feel like home because I didn't have the furniture I wanted or a nice carpet because I had to get the cheapest one. I didn't have an oven that fit because it was 10 centimetres too small or whatever. And it just didn't feel like home, which is how I'd felt like my whole life, because it's just a foster placement and then another foster placement and emergency and respite, and I never felt like I had a home anywhere. So that's one thing that we have now that we didn't used to have. That's fantastic. The other thing, not to toot my own horn, but the Staying Close project. That's a pretty good thing that's quite new. For those that don't know, Staying Close project is a DFE funded project that focuses on care leavers that have had multiple placement moves and children's homes experience. And I think what we can do for our young people in the Staying Close project is something that like I definitely would have benefited from in my journey. The fact that we just give them this one accommodation that they stay in until they move out into their own place, and we see them multiple times a week. We're always there for them. We let them decorate it how they want it. We let them pick their furniture out. We take them on ice skating trips, or we take them out for meals. We buy them birthday presents and Christmas presents. It's a really fantastic thing that I think is really supporting our care leavers that didn't used to exist, 5 years ago. What was your question?
Believe me, you've answered it perfectly. But
Okay.
it was what when you think now, what would have been good when you were a kid.
Oh, well, yeah, what I just said then. There you
Yeah,
go.
exactly, spot on. And also like thinking, and then it's like, but is it exactly where we'd want it to be today? Was the bit I was going, no, there's still stuff to do. That's the purpose of the pledge, isn't it? As you said. So, yeah, it's exciting times. But to the fact that we can align and have this conversation in this way, it is really powerful. So, yeah.
I think as well, like there's more done now to take the focus away from the young person being care experience. Like even things like Shambhala, I managed to be able to staff that this year. And I think like what I noticed as well is that young people, and it's not like it was a massive brainwave, but young people are so much more than the label of being care experience. And I think like the opportunities that are given now are very much a reminder to the young person that they're more than that experience, which I think is something that has been missed across the way. But I think we've come a long way in terms of like trauma-informed practice, and we've just really like come a long way. But yeah, I like that the focus is shifting away from the care experience, and it's more about what that person can do as a whole and like their abilities and how much they can do rather than how much they can't do.
Chair, so I've popped up. That's really powerful, actually. And so just popped up a few key questions. We don't have to spend a lot of time today, but these are the sort of things to be thinking about as corporate parents, as part of the pledge, and just sort of some questions, prompting questions you may want to think about. But if you want to just fire away and ask any questions at all, please do so. We'll do our best to answer.
Trevor.
No, thank you. This all sounds really, really positive. I'm part of the corporate parenting board as well, so to see this coming in place and see what it means to the young people is brilliant. But what more can we do to spread the word? Have you got social media pages and that we can share the word, and can you give those details to us? Because obviously the more companies that learn about this, the more success you're going to have. So anything you can pass on to us to get us to do that and help in any way we can is going to be really useful for us to help young people.
Yes, of course, that's really helpful. And in the sort of the strategy that Cornelia just talked about, the Northamptonshire local offer for those with care experience, what is, and there's standing side by side, because it's imagine what Northants can do, you know, on the back. I know there's plans, by the way, of some of the great officers here, you know, to build on the strategy to have that, you know, real identity for Northamptonshire around this is how we can support, this is what we can do. You know, there's so many things. It's about thinking. There's definitely spreading the pledge across businesses, absolutely. But there's so many things that could be done. If you just think, I mean, you might not be in the meeting now, but have a deep breath and go, right, if I could do anything, if I could wave a magic wand, what would I do? Start there, I would say, and in the local offer. And what's brilliant is, and again, you know, I really don't want this to sound like we're starting from a deficit position, because as Cornelia said earlier, there's been a lot of really positive developments, and the fact that there's now a hub in Northamptonshire for those with care experience, and that, when did that open? November, yeah. First person I saw when I walked in was Connor, actually. Yeah, you know, so the fact that that's happened is a real positive for Northampton, because previously there was one care experience hub in the county, but that was in Western Fayval, it still is, you know, in West Northamptonshire. So, and this is, I mean, it's a real positive shift. So the pace Northamptonshire's taken is good, and when you look at the also with the inspector at Ofsted came and did a focused visit on those with care experience here just over a year ago now, and again they found some really good practice because of my colleagues here, and you know, and it's really good. So there's a lot of momentum to build on, is my message. You know, so sorry it was a long answer to your question. Yes, we certainly will, but I think there's so much can be done across the council. I mean, imagine if this was a regular feature at an executive meeting or as a full council meeting, and what are we doing and what's been our achievements in the last quarter. You know, that's I mean, the sky's the limit, really. Obviously that can be managed by officers. Thank you.
Anyone else at all? Or Wendy?
Well, it's not a question, but I think we should put on thanks to the Northampton Children's Trust and the young people for all the work that has gone on since the inception of Northampton Council, because you know, I was here, I was on the shadow, and there's a huge amount of progress that has been made. So I think that should be put on record, and for our thanks for all the work everyone puts in. That's officers and young people, and that's good.
Wendy, lovely. Julie?
Just going back to the start, when you mentioned the young people don't feel comfortable coming here and speaking to us, can we maybe do it so the young people are coming to scrutinise us and tell us what they want rather than us asking them? I think that would work better.
Quickly moving on. Councillor Eglin.
I want to congratulate you three for coming and sharing your experiences with us, because it's got to be a nerve-wracking experience when you don't know who we are and what we're about. I've got a quick question. If the young people feel really nervous about coming here to talk to us, can't we go to them? And probably if you do an event or something, invite us, send an email out to us, see if we want to come along, so they get to know us, so we can support them as councillors in our roles.
I can answer that one. So yes, we always welcome people to come and see us, come and see our young people, engage in our events, our groups, our various other councils that run, that are led by our children and young people. So absolutely we can make sure that there's a calendar of events sent out so that everybody
Or maybe
knows.
an email list what you guys can just fire out each time there's something coming up.
Yeah, and just if people want to come and see what we're doing and where we are, there's always young people at Russell House, isn't there, that are kicking around. Some days they come, we have drop-in events, so there's more young people about. But yeah, just come and say hello and have a cup of tea with us is what I'd like to invite people to do.
Yeah, I had the honour last week to go and visit I keep forgetting the name of it, but it looks like a big giant stable and farm complex. And I got to meet the young people there, and we were discussing about having a chat about medicals and the medicals that they have to have yearly and everything else. And it was absolutely fantastic to have the young people just, you know, they all got a little bit concerned to start off with because somebody mentioned that I was a counsellor, and one of the young people went, "I've got my session tomorrow, I don't need another one today." But it was to hear them come out with their points. And we're not just talking about older young people. I think the youngest one was 11, 12 years old, and it was absolutely brilliant for them to be able to speak in a really safe environment. And I absolutely loved that building and outlay that's down there. And it's fantastic. It is where young people could come in. It's also a place where possibly we could invite people from outside and maybe have a fair there of individuals coming in saying, "Oh, this is our company, this is what we do," you know, and everything else, because you've got the outlay down there is absolutely fantastic, the classrooms and everything else. Just wanted to put that out there. Yeah, Trevor? Oh, shall I do it? No. Anyone else? And then from me, thank you so much for coming here. I get afraid sitting up here. Okay? It's all new to us still. So thank you so much, and I really appreciate you spending your time and coming across to speak to us. Because as I always say, it's about your future, not so much mine.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. If I may, we've obviously got the other agenda items to follow. Where, you know, I think we've covered the questions and next steps really well. As you know, you're welcome to stay. We're going to be talking about housing pathway. I think your views on that would be really welcome. So don't feel you have to leave, but if at any point you want to, that's good. Okay, thank you, Chair.
Yeah, for those at home, it's Russell House, but I've been off for Christmas. We're moving on then to agenda item number 6, Northamptonshire Housing Pathways for Care Leavers, and I also believe it's yourself again, Colin.
Thank you. I'm going to hand over to Olivia to present this one.
Thank you. Thank you. So for those people that don't know me, I'm Olivia Ives. I'm the Assistant Director for Corporate Parenting in the Children's Trust. And thank you for having me here today to be able to talk to you about both housing and education. And I think what you all have noticed already from our conversations is how these things are intrinsically linked. We can't kind of separate housing from education, from the local offer, from the corporate parenting strategy. And our aspirations for our young people in terms of both kind of education and housing are the same. We want them to be able to achieve the best outcomes that they can and in a way that offers them opportunities to achieve well in the future. Vera has already kind of shared some of her experiences around housing, and we'll talk more about the Staying Close project, and I think it would be helpful for you to hear a little bit more about how that's supporting young people. And the important bit around the Staying Close project is that it offers, I guess, a different pathway for young people than has traditionally maybe been the pathway, which is you're in care, you reach 18, when you're ready, you're moving into your own accommodation. Invariably, that becomes social housing, and that's where you are, and you're kind of, that's how you live the rest of your life. And I guess what we want within the Children's Trust and in Northamptonshire is to have a varied housing offer that meets the needs of all of our young people, recognising that their needs are not the same. And lots of work has been done, as you will see from the report, in developing that housing pathway from a very embryonic state, I guess, when Northamptonshire became a council and moved from district councils to the unitary council. So there's been huge development in the work that we're doing, but I think still some way to go in terms of achieving that mixed and varied offer for our young people. The report gives you some of the detail around our young people and where they're living now, and I'm happy to take some further questions around that. But I think probably what would be most helpful is to hear a bit more from Vera, maybe Millie and Connor, if you want to share about your experiences. But certainly, Vera, what your learning has been, I guess, around the Staying Close project as a transitions worker, and how that should develop our thinking in terms of what we need to be offering for housing.
Thank you. I suppose the biggest thing that the Staying Close project has taught me is that not one size will fit all. So as an example, when I was leaving care at 18 and going to my own place, the Staying Close project would not have worked for me. It would have been a terrible match. The right place for me was to go into a solo ISA until I got my own place to live. However, that is obviously not the case for every young person, and we've learned over the course of the project matching is incredibly important. All of our properties are shared. We have either 2-bedroomed flats or we have a 6-bedroomed HMO in Wellingborough. And it's really important that we get the right young people in the right property, because when we don't, it doesn't work out great, which is nobody's fault, and you can't predict everything, but it does mean another sort of move for a young person, another thing that's gone wrong for them, which is the whole point of the Staying Close project, is to avoid that and to give the young person a safe accommodation and a trusted person and a good relationship that they know that they can rely on until it's time for them to go into their own place, whether that takes 3 months or 6 months or a year. We need more properties. It's the short and long of it. We only have 3 flats in Northampton and 1 HMO in Wellingborough, and we do have a flat in Daventry. However, that is a tenancy conversion, so once that young person's ready, they're going to keep that flat and we can't use it, which is great for them, but kind of sucks for us because we want properties for our young people to go into. And I think really our super long-term goal, I hope this isn't news to Colin and Olivia, but is we would sort of love for us to be able to provide accommodation in-house within the leaving care service for almost all of our young people, however that may look for them. Because ISAs, although they are great, they cost a lot of money, and the support is not tailored, whereas the support that we can give to our young people in Staying Close is tailored because we have a reduced caseload. So I only have 6 young people on my caseload right now compared to a person who advises 27 on a good day, which means that I can see my young people 2-3 times a week. I can spend an hour, 2 hours a day with them. And, sometimes I might be doing, let's do a cooking session, or we should really do a budgeting plan. But other times I just sit and chat with them, and I get to know them, they get to know me, and it builds a really good relationship that our PAs just don't have the time to do. So if we can expand on that, and also we'd love more properties in the north, because obviously we've got 3 flats in Northampton, but in the north we've only got Wellingborough, and a lot of our care leavers are north care leavers, and they want to stay in the north. They don't want to come to Northampton. So we'd love to have more availability for them. And I do know that Olivia and Sharon Sandell, who's not here, is working on procuring more properties for us, but it'd be really cool if we could have support from you guys for that.
Can I just add to what Vera said? So I think some of the important messages from that is the wraparound support that we offer to young people when they move into their accommodation, the different types of accommodation, and the offer being, as I say, varied enough to meet needs. And Vera's right, we have lots of conversations, very helpful conversations with colleagues in Northamptonshire, and constantly looking at opportunities and properties to make into a kind of in Northampton we've got a YMCA, so we're looking at an equivalent YMCA provision in the north, so young people, so that kind of halfway house, learn the independent skills. Where we've got the North Hub, we're looking at having a series of flats above the hub, the Leaving Care Hub, which means they, as my colleague says, live above the shop. which again offers lots of support for them. So I think that it's that really important kind of varied pathways that meets the needs of the young people at the right time that they need it, and how we work together to achieve that, and definitely the progress is there in doing that.
Yeah, Councillor Conway.
Thanks for the information so far. I've literally just received an email today. Staying Close has had a property bid accepted in Oakley Vale, Worcester Close, 2-bedroom coach house, I think they call it. So it's just been, literally, the email's come through today because it's in my ward. So there are more properties coming. It was just related to that because I hadn't got any information about that. I literally got the email this afternoon. So how is Staying Close working in terms of, is that Northamptonshire Children's Trust that are buying the properties, or is NNC that are buying the properties and then leasing them out to yourself? Can we just have a bit more detail about how that's all coming together, if you know it?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, because we know the trust arrangement came from statutory direction from government back in 2019, 2020. The funding for Northamptonshire Children's Trust comes directly from both West and North Northampton, so we don't have a pot of money. So any capital expenditure that we incur is with the agreement of the respective council. This will come directly through Northamptonshire. Just for that, the strategic financial point, I thought it might be helpful. I know Olivia and Vera will have a lot more detail about how it's on the ground. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much a collaboration, and the HMO, I don't think that came through Northamptonshire in Wellingborough, did it? It did come through Northamptonshire. Okay, but we have we have other properties. So we also work really closely with the university, who've offered us lots of properties. So we have varied routes to achieve that. But increasingly, the conversations are working together to secure those properties, as you've heard today, to make sure that we can work with them together.
So specifically for the HMO that we have in Wellingborough, it is leased to us by you guys. And then on behalf of the young people that are living there, we claim enhanced housing benefit, which then goes to you guys. So that, essentially, the great thing about it is it kind of just pays for itself, and it becomes like a sort of net zero. The properties that we have in Northampton are... I'm unsure if they are leased to us or if we have a different agreement, but they are Northampton Partnership Homes properties. Essentially, just when one becomes available, Fuad at Northampton Partnership Homes sends us an email and goes, "Hey, I've got another flat, do you guys want it?" And we go, "Oh yeah, that'd be great, thanks." And then again, we claim the enhanced housing benefit on behalf of the young people and pay it that way.
And just to follow up to yourselves and on Staying Close, have you got goals of how many houses you need or properties you need currently to achieve, so that the goal is get every care leaver, would be a nice goal, get every care leaver so there's property available to them. And obviously those numbers are going to go up and down, but you've got to have a number of houses, number of properties available so that you can recycle them throughout the years. Have you got a goal in mind, short term, medium term, long term, of how many properties you'd like to take ownership of, if that's the right term, throughout Northamptonshire to cover the care leavers here?
We have, through our sufficiency strategy, an understanding of the needs of our care leavers and work very closely with colleagues in housing to look at the trajectories for those young people and with colleagues in property. So there's we have a clear idea with them around what it is that we are seeking, both for children's homes and for our older young people.
Wendy?
Well, I think, sorry, what I was going to ask, I think has sort of been answered, but I think we can help as councillors because we do get planning applications for HMOs, and I know we can't predetermine a planning application, but a lot of people are really worried and have concerns when they see HMO But any of us who've got children that have ever gone to university, they will have lived in HMOs. They're just a few young people living in a house. I mean, most young people can't afford a house of their own, whether it's rented or buying. You know, it's just out of reach. So most young people start off in HMOs, and I think it's something that we can perhaps allay the fears of some of our residents when they do see the word HMO, because it is just accommodation that we've probably lived in at some point in our lives.
That would be really helpful if we could do that. I think the other thing that would be important, and I think our young people would tell us, is around the quality of the accommodation, and that being of a quality that we would accept either for ourselves or for our own children. And I'm aware, certainly from conversations that I've had with young people, that the pressure is on to accept the first housing that they've, offer that they've been given, because if you refuse too many, you then don't have. But that's not always in the right place. The accommodation is not always of a good standard. But we accept that that's okay for them, and I think we need to raise our expectations, both of our landlords and of ourselves, in terms of what we offer.
I'll just come back. I agree with that, because some of the accommodation my children have been in I've not liked. And I think, well, fine now, but, some accommodation that is given to young people and all they can get because that's all that's available is not. So I think I fully agree with that.
Vicky?
Thank you, Chairman. I think coming back on Councillor Conway's point about numbers of properties, I suppose, given that Northampton Council is a stock holding council, a stock in Kettering and Corby areas predominantly, is the ambition to have a number or some set targets for how many of those homes could be made available for the Stay in Close project, for example? I mean, the housing allocation policy is a different thing, isn't it? And I think I'm coming on to something a little bit different here, but the housing allocation policy needs, in my opinion, to reflect both North and West. So there should be some similarities in that housing pathway, so that, there's no sort of, so it's fair and it's transparent across the county. But I think, as a council, we're in a good position because of that stock the council owns to be able to, have available for certainly our young people, I would suggest. Chairman, thank you.
It's definitely something that is being discussed and is being considered, and we do have a strategic board that is actually chaired by the chief exec looking into that. And it's understanding what we have available, what we need to acquire still, and what's suitable for our young people in terms of location and type of property and so on. So it's something that we are actively looking into. It's not an easy thing to do, however, and it's making sure that you do that wisely, considering other implications and doing it right, and considering the financial envelope and everything else, but it's something that we are absolutely working with.
Chairman, just to come back on that, I mean, there's so many competing demands, isn't there? So, so many tenancies are needed by people coming out of prison, for example. So many, it's so many competing demands. But I think, it's about the strategy, isn't it? And it's about what we want to achieve in terms of, what are the priorities and what should be delivered, really.
Yeah, and it's as I said, we look at both at the strategic level and operational level. So it's something that we work on. We have a better understanding in terms of where we are, and we have a plan in terms of next steps. So it's work in progress.
Thank you, Vicky. Julie?
Yeah, just like to get away from labelling everything, really. HMOs, shock horror, I don't want one next door to me. Some small ones are fine. Professional people, 3 or 4 people sharing. Student accommodation. They call it student accommodation, not HMO. I think we need to get away from that. You say to someone, or you're getting a HMO next door to you, they're not going to be happy. But if you say something like, oh, it's care leavers home or care leavers shared house, something like that, rather than HMO, I think that would help.
That's a really good point, Julie, really good point. You got overruled. I'm impressed.
Thank you. Just on that, I would, in my personal opinion, if I was to move into a HMO as a care leaver, I would not want my neighbours to know that I was a care leaver and living in that HMO, because unfortunately, obviously, we're all here as professionals wanting to improve lives for care leavers. The public in general does not really have that opinion of us, and there is a lot of stigma around foster kids and care leavers, and that we're naughty and badly behaved.
Understand that. Maybe another name we could call, rather than a HMO or a care leavers home. I don't know, we could come up with something.
I do agree that HMO does have stigma as well, and
I mean, and when you think of it as well, these care leavers that are in this shared accommodation, they're really siblings in a way, aren't they? Because they've all come up. So it's a family home, really. It's their home. It's a family home. I don't know what you could call the home, but I just don't like calling it a HMO.
Yeah, true.
A lot of the stigma that comes from HMOs is the way the people that are living in them aren't interacting with the community and the people they live around. A build-up of rubbish, crime, and things like that. You're not going to be getting this from the young people that are living in these houses. They've got additional support throughout that period that they're in these, whether it be staying close homes or whether it be other types of home. So you're getting additional support. But obviously, any young people that are in these houses that have got additional support, as long as they're getting that education as well and learning to interact with neighbours, back how it used to be many, many years ago, a neighbour was trustworthy. You could leave your kids with your neighbours. It's as long as the young people are getting this education and support and they're interacting properly with the neighbours, I can't foresee there being any issues. I know you said there's a stigma on young care leavers, and that's something we need to work on as a council, as a country, to try and develop that and make sure there isn't a stigma, because I personally have no issue with any young person being here. You've gone through the care system through no fault of your own. There should be no stigma attached to that at all. That's how I'd like to see it, but...
Yeah, you're 100% right, Trevor. But there is actually a stigma right there. As a carer, when we have a young person join us, we definitely advise that they don't tell their new friends in their new school that they are in care, because if they're setting themselves up to be singled out, and that'll even be by parents of other children who will say, please don't go, but he's in care. Oh, he's a bad one. She's a bad one. And it does. And that stigma stays with them. And they really don't need that when they're selling it. It does make their lives a lot more difficult. But I do agree, we need to maybe change the name from a HMO to, I don't know, NCT accommodation. So, yeah, Wendy?
I think it's a statutory thing in HMO because it's a house of multiple occupation, but I absolutely agree with Vera wholeheartedly, regardless of whether you're a care leaver or you're a student or you're a business person who's employed by a certain company, it's nobody's business. That house is occupied by those people. It's an HMO only because it's a house of multiple occupation, friends, it's like, as you say, it's like a family home very often because those people are a community together. My son lives in one. He certainly couldn't afford the place he lives in, and I don't suppose any of them could. So it's the way of being able to afford to live independently. And who lives there or their background is nobody else's business.
Thank you. And it's a really powerful discussion. And I was just reflecting when the conversation there, you know, the kind of the motivation for what's being said, that notion of extra parents that Cornelia mentioned in the this is exactly it. You know, they're the conversation. Why do we actually do it like that? And I think, you know, perhaps as a result of the committee this evening, you know, there's a lot of the great work's going on with Northampton officers already. You know, member group can sort of have a think about how you're going to sort of maybe shift some of those things. I think that'd be a really powerful thing to do. And the other reflection I had was in the strategy itself, you'll notice reference to the belonging charter. And that's a really good example. And you know, there's nothing stopping some thoughts around how could Northants adopt that around the accommodation we've just described. So where that came from, it was made that particular charter is for around children's homes, where there was very similar kind of reputation and concern. We don't want a children's home on our street type thing. And it was a really powerful case study when we actually launched this last year. It's going incredibly well. But there was a really good case study where there was a children's home in a community where there was a lot of angst, and I believe at one day there was placards as well. I mean, really difficult situation. And then there became a new manager came in, and there was a conversation. You know, there was like community events and discussions, and going from a place of absolute we don't want this here to a place where, you know, they get together for Christmas with the community, and that's what you're describing, isn't it? Is kind of like, you know, how do you support the people that are there? Because on a human societal level, of course we want to support the people in our society, and that's the starting point. And I think around the discussion there around that staying put accommodation, HMO, you know, some thoughts around that from the council perspective might be really helpful and interesting. I mean, God, imagine what that could achieve there. You know, and you're right, it's about the reduction of stigma is a responsibility of everybody, not just the people who are living there, and that's what you say, and rightly so. And that's what happened there, is that if everyone's willing to have a conversation about what it could be, then that's how you get great stuff happening, and it's really good to hear that conversation, Chair.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Any other points?
Can I just ask, you said you'd worked out roughly how many houses you'd need in your stock, but you didn't actually say how many. What kind of amount? Or can you not tell us that? I mean, is that top secret?
I can provide you with the information after today. I haven't got that exact number to hand, and I wouldn't want to give you information that was incorrect.
That's fine. That's fine.
If I may add as well, I mean, there is a lot of analysis on this, so that turning around that isn't an issue. You've got to understand that there's different needs as well. So it's a multi-layered answer. Do you know what I mean? So I could say, well, there's currently 326 young people who care experienced in Northamptonshire. That doesn't mean all their needs are the same. That's an example. I'm not suggesting you say it, but just so for everyone's aware, you know, that's just an example. So it's a really good point to think about how we would share that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for everyone involved in that. That was really interesting. Can I just ask, members in front of you, you've got the officers' recommendations. Do you see, I mean, during this debate and after this after this debate, have you seen any wishes to amend or add any recommendations on behalf of our scrutiny panel committee? Moving on then. It is recommended that the Children, Young Persons and Education Scrutiny Committee note the progress made and implementing the housing pathway, to endorse continued development, including proposed changes to the housing allocation scheme, support the ongoing review of the JHP, support further development of support and accommodation options and tenancy sustainment support. Could I please ask for a proposer? Councillor Eglin. And a seconder? Councillor Jessup. And this time, can we have a vote of all those in favour? Christmas brain's gone. Thank you very much. Moving on, agenda item number 7 is the care experience young persons, adults and education, employment and training, EET. Can I please invite, I believe it's yourself again, Colin? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. And once again, I'm going to hand over this one to my colleague Olivia.
Sorry, you've got me talking again. So again, this report outlines provides an overview of the work that we're doing around education, employment and training, and the ambitions that we have for our children and young people. You will see within the report the kind of trajectories in terms of our numbers of children and young people, and growing population of care leavers in Northamptonshire Council, and how that performance is related to those that are in education, employment and training. And what I am pleased to be able to confirm with you is that over the past year, we've seen an increased number of children in education, employment and training in Northamptonshire Council, and we now sit in line with statistical neighbours and the England average, which is really positive, because for a while that hadn't been the case. There are all kinds of factors, as I'm sure you appreciate, as to why young people can find it difficult to engage in education, employment and training. And I think certainly for our care leavers now as a cohort, and those that are just leaving education, they are the group that were most impacted by COVID. And certainly colleagues in the virtual school will talk about the continued impact that has in young people's engagement in education and employment, education and training in particular. So it's really positive that we are kind of bucking the trend and working against that and having increased numbers engaged in education, employment and training. And there are lots of collaborative opportunities to seek out those opportunities for our young people. So we have at Russell House, and we'll replicate this when the North is up and running, the North Hub is up and running properly. We have lots of drop-in sessions with colleagues, for example, from DWP there, from Prospects. We work very closely with Prospects and with other partner agencies to make sure that young people are fully furnished with the information that helps them to make decisions in relation to their future. We also, as you'll see within the report, have an embedded, what we call our EAT forum, where we invite young people to come and meet on an individual basis, but with a group of professionals to support them in thinking about their futures and opportunities. And you can see from the report that there's been, as a result of that, there's been 14 young people who have now secured employment opportunities. So lots of really positive work taking place, but linking it back to our earlier conversations around corporate parenting strategy and the local offer is what more can we do to think about those opportunities to help young people develop the skills that makes them more employable, and our young people have particular challenges because they have experiences that maybe other young people in the population haven't had. But for all young people, we know that finding jobs at the moment is a challenge, regardless of whether you are a care leaver or not. So So that makes it even harder, I guess, for young people who have been in care to secure those employment opportunities. So I guess collectively we are working well to increase the work, the opportunities and the work that we're doing. As always, there's more that we can do together. And I don't know if I can I turn to my much more experienced and knowledgeable young people here to share any experiences that you might have or want to share around employment. Go on, Connor, go for it.
Yeah, we've got 14 young people that have successfully acquired jobs thanks to the Need to Eat panel. However, if we have more businesses, perhaps businesses attend the forum, they could increase that number significantly. Perhaps we can send out the Need to Eat template, completed templates to businesses so they can give advice or notes prior to the panel and just increase the number of young people that get into EAT.
We have some great schemes running, certainly within the council, the mentoring scheme that is available, supporting young people to develop the skills to write CVs, to attend interviews, to feel confident, give them practice. So that there's lots of things that are already in place and working, which I think is great to hear about. That wider offer, I think this, Connor, is what you're talking about, aren't you? Is how do we tap into our networks, all those people that we have connections with, because if each of us manage to do that with 5, just in this room, you've got a significant number of connections then made. So I think it's just those are the things about what individually, what can we do, as well as collectively working together.
Thank you, Olivia. And I'm sure there'll be lots of great questions in a moment. I'm sure everyone's joining the dots now, if you hadn't already, about this, because then if you take this back to an effective corporate strategy and a care experience pledge with lots of local employers involved, then there's more employment opportunities, so it's kind of that whole local offer thing is such a big deal for the council to take seriously, and I know they are, and just think of what could be achieved, from where we are from this point now, and so it's really helpful. Well done, well said.
And just if I can give you an example of how that's working. So at the local offer event, I don't actually know what their official title is, but the group that runs kind of education within the parks was, the team manager was there, who wanted to talk about what the parks could offer to our young people. And I had the absolute pleasure this morning of walking around Chester Country Park with him to see all the things that they're doing. But a volunteering programme, safe spaces for young people, perhaps who have got some kind of difficulties with their mental health, who just need some kind of space to come and enjoy the outside and the emotional well-being stuff that comes with that. There's job opportunities, as I said, the volunteering opportunities, the groups that we can hold there. So that was just a single conversation that has then led to all of these things that potentially we could do together that then helps young people to be able to be more resilient and then have kind of work experience that develops skills that leads into employment. So those small conversations can become much bigger things.
Councillor Lumsden, Julie.
Yeah, you did come back and answer one of the part of the question I was going to ask about, and that was around about mentoring. I don't know how far you go with that. Is it on a one-to-one, or is it in a group? Like when you grow up as with your parents, they'll maybe coach you on what to say at interviews, things like that. If you're in care, a care leaver, you're not going to get that same one-to-one. Would it be beneficial having buddying people up with other people so they've got their own mentor? The other thing I was going to say is, I did work, that was my career at the job centre, and I have worked with people that have left care in the past, not in this area, it was another part of the country. But one thing I noticed, when they had job fairs, it was for everybody. They didn't do anything specifically for care leavers. And I think maybe having something bespoke specifically for care leavers, so that the employers and trainees and trainers, and colleges and whatever that are coming in, they know who they're going to be speaking to. The care leavers, they know they're going to come and they're going to be speaking to people that know what their needs are as well, making it more bespoke for them, rather than just having a job fair that anybody can go to. Would that be beneficial?
So just to offer you reassurance, we have the mentoring and befriending scheme that is in place. We match young people to individual mentors, people who are befrienders, so that works on a one-to-one basis. I don't know if any of you have got any more that you'd like to say on that. No? Yeah, Vera?
Sorry, I actually have quite a bit to say, I'm afraid. On the mentoring as well, when I joined NCT, I was given a mentor within NCT, and it was a one-to-one basis, and I love my mentor so much, and she has done so much to help me with my career development, or to even just help me with like, oh, I'd really like to bring this thing up with my manager, but I don't really know how to do that. And then she's talked me through it, that's let me start having wider conversations and getting myself out there a little bit more. Oh my God, what was I saying? Oh, and now she's actually left NCT and joined a different organisation, but I got on with her so well that we've continued mentoring just in our own personal time, which I thought was such a fantastic thing that NCT has been able to set up for me. We also have Goal 17 that we use within the Leaving Care Service, which is a national mentoring programme that partnered up with the Leaving Care Service to provide mentors for our young people, which I believe it's a sort of a bit of a less formal arrangement, because they can actually talk to their mentor about anything they need to in the moment. So it can go from, I need to write a CV, I need to brush up on my interview skills, to I don't know how to make this food, or I need to call a utility person, but I don't know what to do. So it's a much wider mentoring arrangement that's working really well for our young people. And also within the Staying Close team, a lot of what we do within our role is, let's write a CV, let's apply for that job together, let's attend your universal credit appointments together, let's sort you out some clothes for an interview, let's do a mock interview. So we do a lot of that as well. I would also like to take this opportunity while I'm speaking to share my personal journey, because I think it's actually quite relevant and really important. So when I first started out my career, I worked for a private organisation as an apprenticeship, and I essentially was discriminated against and bullied for both my sexuality and the fact that I'm care experienced. There were comments made about the fact that my mum is dead and that I grew up in care, which ultimately these comments led to me ending my apprenticeship 6 months in. But around about the same time, a job came up in West Northants Council. It was an apprenticeship, and because West Northants had signed up to the Care Leaver Covenant, they shortlisted me immediately because I was care experienced, and I ended up getting that job, which was brilliant for me, because that then put me in touch with my now manager at NCT, who then, when the Staying Close project came about, he came to me and said, Vera, I really want you to apply for this because I think you'd be great at it. And lo and behold, here I am now. But it was only thanks to that shortlisting that West Northants did that led to me getting to that job, that then led to me getting this job in the Children's Trust, which was a job that I had wanted since I was 15 due to my experience. So I think if that can be replicated, I don't know if you guys do that within the council, which is fantastic. But if that could also be replicated in other companies of like shortlisting applicants if they're care experienced, or just giving them a mentor, that would be so much help for our young people. Thank you.
Thank you, Vera, and thank you for being able to share some of your experience. Just to also answer on your second point around specific events for care experienced young people, as part of our local offer, we hold specific events for care experienced young people, which is like job fairs where people can come and meet local employers. Some young people have there and then secured interviews for roles. So that's happening, but it's on a small scale at the moment. It would be great if we could do that on a bigger scale.
And if I may also add there's another sort of reflection from NNC perspective is that care experience can be defined a protected characteristic, which is what Vera's just described. That's in place.
Yes. Yeah, both North and West and Children's Trust are all signed up as a protected. Sorry, apologies. Yes, Northamptonshire signed up along with the Children's Trust to care leaver being a protected characteristic.
And to add to that, what we are doing at the moment, we are working to define what that actually means, you know, in terms of exactly what you described, Vera, about guaranteed interview, but also looking at our workforce, you know, and who from our workforce actually has care experience and what that means, and maybe try to not. Some people are not confident to actually declare, you know, and we want people to actually share, you know, and be proud, and for us all, you know, to embrace that. So it's thinking about that, and we have conversations about it and see how we could actually encourage our workforce, you know, to declare and see how we collectively could maybe describe what that means and what we are committed all to do, you know, in terms of opportunities, understanding, and helping us all, I guess, you know, not to see this as something different, but to see this as something part of our lives, you know, and just a different experience and vulnerability that we need to be mindful of.
Trevor.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Couple of questions on the EAT data that we've got here, if I can. I just want to clarify quickly. I'm assuming NEAT just stands for not in education. Okay, perfect. So the first question is in terms of further education, so beyond A levels. On the table here, we've got 14 young or care leavers that are in further education. I presume that's university of the like. How do the figures compare? Has comparisons been done in terms of care leavers applying for university and getting university places compared to non-care leavers? Because obviously it's pushed within the school system to try and get kids into university, but the numbers just seem particularly low for how many you've got that have gone on to university or additional education. How do they compare? Do we know that?
Nationally, we know that the number of care leavers that attend university is disproportionately lower than the rest of the population.
And from that, so is there work being done by yourselves and the team to try and grow that? Is there a reason why care leavers maybe don't go down that route of additional education? Is it that those opportunities aren't being presented to them early enough? Because the support you get in school of trying to apply is encouraged to everyone. But just say that the numbers seem like, is there something you guys are doing to try and help and support care leavers that want to go down that route? Obviously, it's not the only route. I never went to university. I did apprenticeship, and the apprenticeship did me very well. So there's other options, but it just seems particularly low.
I think it's a whole system that needs to work together. And there's something about how ambitious we are for our children in care. So starting, you know, with children that are very young, and making sure that we have the right aspirations in place for them and help them to have the right aspirations too. And just achieving is not well, I mean, it is okay and it's right for some children, but actually, how do we push those that could go to university? It's an important question, and I think it's the whole system, so through schools, as well as the work that we're doing, the work that the virtual school is doing, is how do we identify those young people really early on that have the ability to achieve and go on to university, and how do we support them to do that? The other part of it that I think universities are becoming increasingly alert to is the need for them to be having a bespoke offer for young people who attend university. And Northamptonshire University of Northampton, has got an offer in place for care leavers in terms of accommodation costs, support to study. And I think that's really important because, as we know, the debt that young people come out of university with puts a lot of people off, particularly if you are further disadvantaged and you haven't got the people behind you to support. So I think it's that whole system that needs to work together rather than just something that perhaps we do as a children's trust.
And if I may add, it's definitely in our strategy, so we want every young person to fulfill their potential, and increasing the participation rate in university is one of the.
And then just one final point then for me, if again, this table of data, this neat other. So you've got 132 care leavers or young care leavers that are not in any form of education, employment education or training. That then seems equally substantially high. What goals are in place to try and bring that number down? Obviously, it's a much bigger programme and lots more people involved to get universities on board. But what else are we doing specifically to try and get that number down? Obviously, we've got the pledge and we've got this other stuff that we've linked into earlier, and hopefully that will all build up. But have we got some specific goals? Because that just seems like a high number that aren't able to get what you guys have got, which seems to be working brilliantly, and you guys have are representing young care leavers really brilliantly tonight. But that number, we need to work on that and get that down, don't we?
Yep, fair challenge, valid question. I'll come to Olivia for some of the local information in a moment, but I just wanted to pull it back to the national picture. We are, I'm not suggesting the number, I would like it to be 100% all day long, as I'm sure that's where but just to put that into a national context, that is in line with the national average and with the national situation. In fact, we're the best in the region with that number at the moment in the East Midlands region. The difference is, it's not always, is there something you can do on it? There may be additional needs, there may be other contextual factors that add to that number. So we should strive to go as far as we can with every young person. I completely agree with the sentiment behind. I just wanted for the committee to put that into sort of a national context, in that it's, how can I put it? Because every child matters, and we have to support every single person we work with the best way we possibly can. But there is some positivity in the way where we sit compared to national in that context.
And just to add, so nationally, the number of young people not in education, employment, training is growing. We're going the opposite direction, so that's really positive. And there's lots of things that are in place. So we track all of our young people very carefully. We do that jointly with the virtual school. We have some specifically commissioned services for young people not in education, employment and training. And I'm talking we as a partnership rather than we just as NCT. Pathway planning for young people helps them to set their own goals. Every young people has a pathway plan which they review with their personal advisor every 6 months. So that there's lots of things in place to help young people think about their future. And often it's not the employment, education and training that needs to be the focus, but actually how do we build your emotional well-being? How do we get you to a place where you're strong enough or able enough to think about going out to work or to engage in? So sometimes we have to do those things before it comes back to, and what kind of a job would you like, or what further training can you do? So there are lots of things that are already in place, working both strategically to improve the opportunities for the cohort, as well as on an individual basis with each of our young people.
Wendy.
It's good to hear what's in place for young people. Sometimes even just turning up to work on time is difficult for some young people. But this report mentions some of the challenges, but I think the workplace is a particularly challenging environment out there at the moment, and recent employment legislation does not help that at all. I don't think, Chair, there's much we can do about that here. But I mean, I do sometimes wonder if government has sort of thought of the consequences of some of the legislation that's been passed recently, because it really isn't very helpful to employers taking on employees. So whether they're young people, older people, care leavers, it's really not helpful to anyone. So I really do think it's a challenging environment out there.
Julie.
Our care leavers they've got more barriers than other children already. And I'm looking at these figures and I see there's 13 NEET because of disability. It's a further disadvantage. There's another 9, they're NEET because pregnancy or parenting. These care leavers, they need extra help again on top of whatever is being given to everyone else. I know personally myself, being disabled, the challenges of being disabled. I'm not sure. I would like to meet these young people to see if there's anything I can help with further, being disabled. I'd like to know their thoughts, what they want, what they think can help them, so that I can better understand. I don't know, maybe even if they would like to come along and tell us all what they would feel would help them.
I'd be very happy to try and facilitate something so that we can help you to understand what they're saying and then see how you can support them differently. Yeah, very happy to set that up.
Thank you.
Steve.
I've been really quite impressed with what's coming across in this room tonight. It's good to hear. It's good to hear. I'm going to take a slightly different stance here. When I consider all of the benefits that people have, I'm not that surprised by some of the figures we've seen. In the report, there's a slight emphasis in terms of some of the possible consequences of not keeping a good eye on this in terms of the increased likelihood of falling by the wayside. And not only are there social consequences behind that, which are quite enormous, but the cost in terms of the loss of the potential that we have in people, and also the increased economic cost of having to deal with people in a more difficult state. I'm sure we'd all appreciate that must be quite enormous. I don't know if you've articulated that. I'm sure there are reports out there that take a stance on that. But in terms of looking to invest, in addition to the emotional side, any kind of figures would be quite useful to understand the consequences of not giving carers the support that they are deserving of would help to support any conversations you have.
Well, absolutely, and then I know there's lots of some information Olivia will be able to share, and I think you're right, it's the moral responsibility, isn't it? It's a moral responsibility we have, and if we go back to how things were here, which is why this conversation is really good, that we can have the kind of discussion that we're having, is there were, and I've spoken to people, you guys may or may not be aware, like, it used to be that the advice was make yourself homeless so you can get accommodation. That actually happened. what on earth is going on in a society where you have to have that conversation with someone not okay. So I just wanted to make that kind. We're on a journey here, and your challenge is absolutely appropriate, and you know, it's recognising where things were. No.
Trevor.
Thank you. Just one more. This is more of a generic one for the committee to consider. And Cornelia, you might be able to assist, but you might not have this data, so it's not a problem. NNC is one of the biggest employers in the area. Have NNC committed to this pledge yet? I know NNC have taken on some apprentices recently in the housing department. Are we in a position whereby we could maybe recommend via this scrutiny committee onto executive and onto NNC that if we're not already pledging to NCT and to young people to offer, I don't know, 10 or 20 apprenticeship places within NNC across the various departments, because we've got a great opportunity to offer more to the residents and the people that we're the parents for.
Yeah, if I can just jump in there, Trevor. Totally agree with you. But I also think that we as a council need to sell ourselves to the young people. Because at the moment, if we say council to people jobbing a council, they're going, I don't want to work on the bins. A job in council, yeah, I don't really want to work in a park. But there's so much more that we do. We have teams that go around fixing houses and doing other things that we've got a vast amount of jobs that we have and people that work for us instead of what that little stereotypical of the council. And we need to sell it to young people that actually we're here for you. We want you to be the future because you are. And I was going to speak to Connor, that was going to be my question as well, was that when you have these fairs, Connor, is there anyone there from NNC? Are we represented? You can bubble us. I don't mind. Oh, you can make a good politician. I like that.
Yeah, we have. And just to add about the play, and Colin, do you want to say? Because we absolutely had Councillor Griffith there. I was there, for the signing of the pledge. We do have some apprenticeships already. We look at how we can increase our offer, and what we could do more systematically, consistently across the council, and also looking at the wider partnership, in terms of, getting partners on board with that as well. So the conversation is already there, and there is, activity happening, but we could do more, and Colin, you want to add?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to, absolutely spot on. So the leader of the council there when we launched the pledge was Councillor Griffiths was there, but what I'd also say is that what that was, everyone was committed to the pledge idea. The next step is actually different organisations doing the pledges. So that's the next phase that we've said. We've done the launch, everyone's up for it. We need to do the next bit. There's just a couple of bits we need to sort out to get that moving. So yeah, I have no doubt as soon as that's in place, it will be with a matter of weeks. I'm hopeful that will then be able to start issuing the pledge to local organisations, saying what is it you want to say. And for Northamptonshire, the strategy, the local offer, say some clear commitments like that around apprenticeships and so on would be in fact really fantastic. And there's also one of the things that supports someone going for the care experience pledge is the Care Leavers Covenant, of which Northamptonshire have already signed up to. So it's not, the pledge is more than that, it's more localised, but that exists too. So as I said earlier, it's like the steps we're on, this is the tipping point really. We've got the opportunity to go absolutely, fantastic.
No, I just so my ambition is that we can tap into things really quickly for young people. So just to give you an example, we had a young person, he was 15, hadn't been attending education, life at home, he was living at home at that stage, was really, really difficult for him. Hit an absolute crisis one day with police involvement. He ended up come into our office for a period of time whilst we found him somewhere else to live. In that window of opportunity that we had, he said, I'd like to be a Sparky. That's what I want to be. But there's no point me even thinking about it because I don't go to school and it's too difficult to achieve. What I would like to be able to do is to make a phone call and say, I've got a young person today who is telling me he wants to be a Sparky. Can we sort it out today? Not that we then need to fill in forms, that we need to get DBS checks. We need to have DBS checks, I don't mean that, but we're in a position and ready to run and go. Because 2 weeks later, maybe, or even 2 days later, we'd lost that opportunity. So it's how can we mobilise amongst all of the organisations that we work with, but particularly, I guess, within those that we are in ourselves, to grab those opportunities for those children and young people.
Councillor Aiken.
Just thinking on how you can try and mobilise things a bit more. Have you tried going to the media to try and get them on your side, to try and get you on like the BBC Time, some time slot on the radio or something, to try and get your cause out more, and probably trying to use social media as well? Maybe get a short video going saying we're calling on all businesses to come and help the local people what need your help right now. Have you tried doing that yet?
We, yes, we have an active social media presence, and I also have one of your team managers in the Leaving Care Service is fairly regular participant on, I think, Radio Northamptonshire or one of the local radio stations, talking about our local offer and events, and she talked about the pledge recently. So we've got some great relationships with the local media who absolutely advocate on behalf of kind of us as organisations, but also of our care leavers, to gather and garner motivation from the wider community.
Another idea is try and invite some of the local mayors and stuff like that to the events you're doing, or maybe the chair of the council, or I don't know, the leader of the council, or the opposition leaders and stuff like that, to try and get more of a publicity towards yourself. Because if they get online, they're going to be posting about what they've been up to that day, then they're going to be publicising yourselves and probably getting more show for you.
Absolutely agree. Thank you for your helpful suggestions, and we will do that.
Definitely, and if I may, Chair, just to add, this is the thing, is that as we evolve the strategy, this is something Northampton could do as well, because it's so we currently provide services, but you know the young people who are in the care system in Northampton's children. I'm not saying it's you or us, it's us. Do you know what I mean? But I think that would be ace. You know, where Northampton could go with this, and West Northampton, you know, it's really, like I say, there's sky's the limit. It's so definitely want to partner in some of the things that you said as well. You know, great.
I've just got one question for our guests. Do you have a hotline? So as a young care leaver, do you have a hotline where your world is imploding, where the washing machine's not working, this is not happening, and everything else? Do you have your own dedicated... I mean, I'm a foster carer, and I've got obviously the duty social worker that I can ring 24/7 or whatever. Do you have the same as a care leaver? Because it's something that could be quite simply set up if you haven't. Because for a young person, I left home at 16. Luckily, I joined the military. So it was a little bit different. I had accommodation and I was getting fed and everything else. So it's a little bit different. But even then, I can remember going, the bombs and the bullets, that was the easy bit. The running around with camp cream on, simple, loved it. Bank account, what a nightmare. And then when I left at the age of 40 years old, I'd never paid rent because it came out of my wages. I'd never done a CV because the army promoted me and moved me into different jobs. Never did one. In fact, it worked against me. So I know what care leavers are like. When I left the military, it was a case of, unfortunately, EastEnders and Emmerdale had some strange people that they turned up in the show 1 week, and the following week they were deployed somewhere, and then the following week they'd completely lost their marbles. So the whole country were looking at individuals that left the military in the very same way as they were care leavers. And I could have done with a number where I could have gone, why am I paying 2 lots of council tax? What is this council tax? How do I do this? Luckily, I'm married and she's brilliant. So she does it all for me. She's my PA. And she does it all for me. And everything else. But it was a hard time we went through. So I was wondering for yourselves leaving at 18, where suddenly your whole world has completely changed, where you've got that little hotline where I can understand you may not want to call back, say, into a duty social worker because you will feel that you've left that behind. But do you have that like little information hotline or anything else?
Yeah, so we have the emergency duty team that we can access whenever we need it. And for those other bits like the bank account or the CV, from 17, we hope, it doesn't always happen, but we would hope that a PA would be allocated at the age of 17. They would co-work with the social worker until the young person turns 18, at which point the social worker takes a step back. And the PA would then be doing those things with their young person. It's also what we would do within our staying close role. But on the odd occasion that, I don't know, it's 8 p.m. and, you know, I've clocked off for the day and your washing machine explodes, then yes, you could call the emergency duty team and they would sort of talk you through it and help you out.
What I would say is many young people at 8 p.m. call their PA, who answers the phone and helps them and sorts them out as well. So our PAs are amazing and are often not off duty, but we try to be there and we support young people up to the age of 21, and then on a needs basis between 21 and 25. But every young person can come back to us post 21 and can be allocated a PA if they need it, or just some support via the duty service. So there's lots of people around to support.
And just to say, PA is personal advisor,
Yes.
because we tend to use acronyms. So.
My wife is also my personal advisor. I've got 2 PAs. In addition to officers' recommendations set out in the officers' report debate, it's proposed that the Children's Young Person Education Scrutiny Committee requests that officers continue to explore and advocate for additional opportunities regarding how the authority can continue to enhance, contribute and care experience pledge. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Brackenbury. And obviously all those in favour.
Unanimous, Chair.
Carried. Moving on then to item 7, and that is the Scrutiny Forward Work Programme. Can I ask members to note the contents of the Scrutiny Work Programme for the forthcoming meeting of Children's, Young Persons and Education Scrutiny Committee? Thank you. Noted. Moving on then to item 8. Any other business? No. I know this is a bit that Callum always dreads. Just before I close the meeting, I always like to make it a little bit different for you. If you ever come to another meeting, you'll think that guy's crazy. And yeah. And this is for you people at home. If you run a small business or anything like that, you've heard this evening about how young people need and look for employment, and the stigma as well. This is the one that we do need to get rid of, is this stigma around children in care. They never put themselves in care. It was people around them who unfortunately, due to their circumstances, put their children into care. So we need to get rid of that stigma. But the other one is as well, if you own a small company or a large company, just look at the young people and the talents that they bring, the independence that they bring, the enthusiasm and everything else. So please, you know, give them a chance, because that's what they need. And I think if we can give more young people chances, I think the world will be a better place. And on that note, I'd like to close the meeting it's facial, isn't it? At 20:36. Thank you very much for all your attendance, and especially to our young people.